All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a deeply powerful story that really gets to the heart of why we so often give up right before our biggest breakthroughs. I mean, you've ever poured your heart and soul into a project or a goal, only to feel like you're just hitting a brick wall? Well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to break down the mechanics of effort, this tricky illusion of stagnation, and the hidden reality of progress. So let's get started. It's a phenomenon literally all of us face at some point. Let's ask ourselves, why is it that the urge to quit feels the absolute strongest just before we actually succeed? Think about it. Whether you're learning a complex new skill, building a business from scratch, or, just trying to adopt a healthier routine, there's always this distinct, agonizing plateau. We put in the hours, we do the grueling work, and yet the needle doesn't seem to move at all. We're going to break down exactly why this happens and how shifting your perspective can honestly be the difference between quitting and achieving mastery. To get to the bottom of this, we're turning to the story of Awarov. So Awarov was a young sculptor with this massive, audacious dream. Ever since he was a kid, he wanted to create a masterpiece that would outlive him. And one day, he spots this giant, unyielding block of stone up on a mountain. Now, where everyone else just saw a heavy, completely lifeless rock, Awarov, he saw a magnificent statue just waiting to be freed. He gathers his tools, hikes all the way up that mountain, and begins to strike. Bang, nothing. Bang, still nothing. And you can imagine the agony of this work compounding over time, right? Day one, bang, bang, bang. No visible change, which, okay, you expect that. But then week 4 arrives, still nothing. By month 6, he's up there striking the stone every single day, and the rock looks literally exactly the same as the day he found it. And then an entire year passes, a full year of his life, his energy, his intense focus, with zero visual evidence that he's making any impact whatsoever. That is rough. This brilliantly illustrates the intense dual pressure Arab was dealing with. Externally, you've got villagers passing by just laughing at him, telling him he's wasting his time, that the stone is way too hard, that he'll never finish the thing. But internally, oh man, every evening he goes home completely exhausted. His hands are covered in deep cuts, his muscles are aching, his body is just breaking down. So he's fighting a war on 2 fronts here: the doubt of the outside world and the very real limits of his own physical body. So sitting there, staring at that completely unchanged stone after a year of pain, Arvid hits his breaking point. He thinks, maybe they're right. Maybe this just isn't meant for me. And honestly, it's a profoundly human moment. He looks at the hard data right in front of him, the mockery, the physical pain, the total lack of results, and he makes what seems like the logical decision. He starts packing up his tools to walk away from his dream forever. But right at the very edge of defeat, literally as he's packing his bags, this old traveler appears. He walks up to Arov, looks at the giant, seemingly untouched stone, and Arov kind of sighs and explains that he's leaving because nothing is changing. The traveler just runs his hands over the rough rock, looks right at him, and challenges his entire perception. He says, no, everything is changing. Now, Arov is super confused because he literally cannot see a single scratch on the stone. To explain this kind of radical idea, the traveler points over to a nearby lake. He picks up a small pebble and just tosses it into the water. Tiny ripples spread out. Then he asks Arav what he sees when the ripples fade. Arav says, well, the lake looks unchanged. But the traveler smiles. He points out that even though the water looks perfectly still again, the lake was fundamentally affected. The energy of that pebble entered the water. The state of the lake was altered, even if the human eye couldn't perceive it once the surface calmed down. The traveler looks back at him and reveals this absolutely crucial truth. Every strike you've made matters. The stone remembers every hit. This right here is the core concept of invisible progress. The traveler is explaining that his effort is entirely cumulative. Every single time that hammer hits the chisel, kinetic energy is transferred deep into the molecular structure of that rock. The stone is actively absorbing that energy. It's actually weakening internally, even when Arab's eyes can't see a single tiny difference on the outside. Armed with this entirely new mental model of invisible progress, something just shifts inside Arav. Now, he doesn't suddenly have some magic guarantee of success, but he finds just enough faith to unpack his tools. He tells himself, okay, I'll stay for just one more day. And that really is the magic trick of endurance, isn't it? Just one more day. And that one day turns into weeks, and those weeks turn into months of continued, grueling struggle. He constantly wonders if he's being foolish. He dreams of the comfort of just giving up, but he keeps striking. Which brings us to a freezing cold winter morning. This moment right here represents strike 999. Arav is standing in front of the stone, shivering. His hands are completely blistered. The stone looks like this giant, mocking wall of impossibility. It's still resisting him. The temptation to finally lay down the hammer and just quit is totally overwhelming. He's at the absolute peak of exhaustion, standing right on the precipice, completely unaware of what the very next moment actually holds. Then, at strike 1000, Arav raises his hammer, brings it down, and crack. A loud, sharp sound echoes through the freezing mountain air. A thin line suddenly appears right across the rock's surface. He just freezes in disbelief. He strikes it again, and the crack widens. Another strike, and suddenly a massive, heavy section of the stone breaks away and crashes to the ground. After all that time, the masterpiece hidden inside finally begins to emerge into the light. Obviously, as word spreads, the villagers all rush up the mountain, and the crowd is shouting, "Wow, that last strike did it! You were so lucky!" Because, people love to believe success is just this sudden, lucky event. But Arav, who is very much a master now, he knows the quiet truth. The stone didn't break because of that final strike. It broke because of the first strike, the 100th strike, and the 900th strike. Every single impact weakened the structural integrity of the stone. That final strike, it merely revealed the invisible work that had been happening all along. So years pass. The beautiful, completed statue now stands proudly right in the center of the town, drawing travelers from all over the world. One evening, Arav's young apprentice asks him for the real secret to success. Pointing at his life's work, Arav shares this profound piece of wisdom. Most people stop because they can't see results. They mistake invisible progress for failure. And wow, isn't that the ultimate trap? We live in a world that demands immediate, visible feedback. And when we don't get it right away, we incorrectly assume all our effort was just totally wasted. To really help his apprentice wrap his head around this, Arav points to nature. Think about it. A seed grows entirely underground, in the pitch dark, long before anyone ever sees a tree. Massive root systems are built before a single green shoot even breaks the soil. The sun is rising long before it hits the glaring heat of noon. And similarly, your dream is quietly becoming reality through your daily discipline, way before the outside world ever stops to notice or applaud. Real success is rarely dramatic at its genesis. It happens quietly, completely out of sight. The apprentice then asks a super practical question, right? How do you know when to keep going? And Arav's answer is brutally honest. You don't. Because we can never predict the exact moment the stone will finally crack. True success requires faith in the undeniable physics of cumulative effort. It's about trusting, really trusting, that the agonizing effort you're putting in today is actively building the result you're going to experience tomorrow, even when your own eyes are trying to tell you otherwise. We so often think extraordinary people have some sort of magical talent, or maybe they just don't feel fear. But Arav's story teaches us that the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is usually shockingly mundane. It's often simply the willingness to make just one more attempt. One more day of striking the rock when literally everyone else has packed up their tools and gone home to be comfortable. Success often arrived disguised as just one more day of very, very hard work. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to really internalize this. Think about your own life right now. Think about your own unyielding stone, that project, that relationship, or that skill you're trying to build that is currently resisting you. You might feel totally exhausted. You might feel like you are just wasting your time. But ask yourself, are you standing at strike 1099? Are you really going to pack up your tools and walk away right before your biggest breakthrough? Don't stop now. Your next strike might just change everything.